Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. 8 provocative scents that get attention. And that might sound like a BS title. I know I would probably roll my eyes. However, it is based on something that actually happened to me on Saturday, last Saturday. I live way outside of Toronto, and I had to go film a video with Chad from A Gentleman's Journey. And so I have to take the train. I got there. On the platform, I was carrying a tripod in my camera bag. I was dressed really nicely because, you know, I live in the sticks, right? I'm going to Toronto. As soon as I put my camera bag down, a woman, similar age, very attractive, comes up to me and goes, "Oh, are you going to Toronto to take pictures? Are you a photographer?" And I'm like, "No." I explained the situation. We had a great conversation waiting for the train. It's really nice interaction. She felt comfortable talking to me because I was carrying something different, something interesting, something a little bit outside the box. She felt comfortable to come up and interact with me, to ask the question. And I think you can do the exact same thing with fragrances. If something that you're wearing is either like really exceptional or maybe a bit different, you're far more likely to have someone, you know, open a conversation with you. And I mean, hey, who doesn't want a little bit of attention? Fragrance number 1, this is Hugo Boss Bottled Absolute. And what better way to provoke someone to get attention than wearing the hottest fragrance at the moment? And it's very strong. And that is definitely required if you're trying to get attention, trying to provoke. Normally when I get a new fragrance, I will spray twice on my hand and then go for a walk and get an idea as to what it is. For some reason, I don't know why, I only sprayed once, but it lasted on my hand all day. Longevity is fantastic. Now, I will say longevity is better than projection. Projection is good. Longevity is very good. And it's also really pleasant. Like if you like patchouli or if you like warm, resinous fragrances, you're really going to like this. So patchouli and myrrh are the two things that I pick up the most. The patchouli falls more on the sweeter side. There's definitely a warm, sweet quality, like I would say a resinous sweetness more than anything. The opening is also more interesting than the rest of the fragrance. I went for a walk and I kept smelling my hand and going, okay, there's definitely olibanum in the opening here. And olibanum can add, like, it's a fresh resin, so it can add like a sparkly, like really high quality feel to a fragrance. You don't get that in designer fragrances very often. I got home, there's no olibanum in it, but I was like, okay, well, I don't get a whole lot of incense. So I looked that up. And apparently incense can be done in 2 different ways, one more in a smoky way and one in a way that more resembles olibanum. That's what I was picking up. The opening is great. The dry down is still really nice. If you like super strong performance and a lot of attention, you'll like this. Fragrance number 2, in terms of provocation, this is easily the number 1 fragrance on this list. This is Oud Palao by Dyptique. And oud, oud is always a great way to get attention. If you walk around anywhere in Canada, I'm sure you ask people, only probably like 5% of people would know what it even is. And this is a challenging oud in many ways, but it works because it's so high quality. And when I say challenging, there is rose in this, but there's no saffron. So it's not exactly the most well-balanced oud in the world. It also has tobacco in it, which is kind of dirty. And then it has rum as well, so it's got a boozy quality. And it's one of those fragrances, though, honestly, if it wasn't super high quality, I don't think I'd like it at all. But it is. It's very, very high quality, very strong. You're talking minimum 12 hours of longevity, lots of projection. Fragrance number 3, this is Issey Miyake Noir Ombre. Noir Ombre perfectly describes what it is. It's dark and ambery. Now, it has vanilla and amber, but it comes across as ambery. There's some leather in this as well. There is also cinnamon and saffron. Saffron freshness is really important to get that high quality feel. Lot of projection. So this one, I don't know if it's going to provoke people in a bad way, but if people, you know, they know high quality. Maybe someone will mention it and say, wow, that's super, super nice. It is very, very strong, so they might notice it that way. It has been discontinued, but this thing has come back twice, so I haven't given up on it. Haven't seen it around for a year or so, but yeah, they said that before, and it came back. This one's super good. Fragrance number 4, we're going back to Oud. This is YSL M7 Oud Absolu. And I mean, Oud is a fantastic note if you're looking to provoke people. Not too many people are familiar with it, but this is a really nice, dirty Oud fragrance. And I usually call it that if it doesn't have saffron and rose to back it up. This doesn't. But this is in some ways more similar to the Hugo Boss fragrance than you might think, because 2 prominent notes here are myrrh and patchouli. So there's definitely something of a resemblance, although this is more exotic. The Oud is definitely a strong Oud. This was one that projection is really strong early on, and you think it's going to last forever, but then it only lasts 6 hours longevity, which is fine. That's more than good enough, but the projection here is loud. And so, yeah, you'll get noticed for sure. Fragrance number 5, we're going for straight out provocation with this fragrance. This is Pour Louie by Oscar de la Renta. And this thing is like, it's potent. It's actually quite similar, somewhat similar to Chanel and Teus, although this does not have the castoreum, the animalic note that has. This is a woody aromatic with leather. And this leather has an animalic element to it. This has oak moss as well. It has carnation. So this is an old school fragrance that is more on the pungent side. Thus, the provocation in the title. You're definitely going to reach it. Surprisingly good performance for such an old fragrance that I got. I got this bottle for $15. This is one of those fragrances, you know, if you're an older guy like myself, you're probably going to be like, oh, I love it. And for me, half the time I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. And the other half I'm like, no, I'm not wearing that. But you will get noticed. Fragrance number 6, this is Lalique pour Homme, and this is a woody citrus fragrance that really emphasizes the woods. So yeah, the citrus is there, but it's toned down. A lot of strong woods, masculine woods. It's got cedar and sandalwood, but the dirtiest possible sandalwood. You really notice it. It's weird though. I don't see people talking about that, even though this is somewhat similar to Bois de Portugal by Creed, which is a masculine fragrance. This is one that Frank Sinatra wore, very, very masculine. Most people kind of, I guess it's what this does. It's supported by other things. So it's supported by the citrus. It's supported by a barbershop quality. This has lavender and oak moss. It's also supported by iris. So it has a lot of supporting elements, but really this is about the woods. Bois de Portugal means Portuguese woods. This is very woody in a masculine way. And yeah, it definitely provoked. Fragrance number 7, this is Bond number 9's Bleu Street. And the title is Getting Attention and Provocation. And what better way to do that is with cat piss. I'm not kidding. This has a note called cassis that is quite prominent. And if you look it up on Fragrantica, it says it has a cat piss quality to it. And I mean, look, it is a lot more than that, but you can kind of pick it up. So just bear that in mind. It's actually, I think, the nicest fragrance that I've tried by Bond number 9, though. It's beautiful fragrance. It's very original. And yeah, I don't really like Bond number 9, but I do like this. So it is a violet leaf and blueberry. So it comes off as quite fruity. So it is kind of an ozonic blueberry fragrance, a bit fruity. But I mean, you know, you're talking about things that are very different. You know, lots of violet leaf. You don't get that every day. Lots of blueberry. I mean, I don't know anything else with blueberry. And then cat piss. Very strange, very different, really good performance. A little bit synthetic, but you expect that from Bond number 9. But very, very nice. And yeah, you will get attention wearing this. Mainly from like people that are into fragrances are like, what the hell is that? Trying to place it. Finally, another Oud fragrance, because hey, it works. This is Hugo Boss bottled Oud Saffron. And it's a pretty well-balanced Oud fragrance. You've got rose and saffron. Obviously, by the name, it's saffron heavy. It's got a little bit of sweetness. It's got some labdanum. And I don't know whether the sweetness in this comes from the labdanum or whether it's got just a touch of the original Hugo Boss DNA. It's kind of hard to tell. I don't really get apple. But anyway, lovely fragrance. Lot of projection. Very high quality Oud fragrance. I much prefer it to Boss bottled Oud. And yeah, so I mean, the great thing about attention is, you know, sometimes it can be bad, but I think most people are pretty good. 90% of the time, it's great. And yeah, it's terrible to have to provoke people. But hey, it worked on Saturday. Thanks for watching.